Good evening and welcome to the Writer's Block. I'm your host, John Ronan, and as you know now, because we are closing down on our 36th season, I talk to writers about their craft, what they're working on, what they've accomplished, what they're planning for the future. It is also a little bit wider net than writing, however. We do have on occasionally other brands of artists. We have had on sculptors, we've had on painters, we've had on actors. So if you have an idea for a writer who might be a good fit or another brand of artist, watch for our address at the end of the program. We'd be very happy to get your suggestions. I also want to remind you that the Writer's Block and all the other original programming that comes out of 1623 Studios is a result of cable access television. That's a wonderful community product, community asset that you don't get with other means of accessing the web. So stick with cable, stick with the Writer's Block. Tonight, I'm happy to say we do have a writer, a gentleman who's written a book about nutrition, a topic we should all be paying more attention to. His name is Joseph Gallo, and I'm going to introduce him now. Welcome to the Writer's Block, Joe
Thank
Gallo.
you, John, for having me on.
I mentioned before that we started recording, I was going to use as part of my introduction to you the first paragraph in the page labeled About the Author. So I'm going to read that right now. Joe Gallo Jr. is a former certified secondary biology teacher who taught in Massachusetts, holding degrees in biological science and a master's in education. He studied at Merrimack College, the University of Massachusetts, Boston, and Salem State. So, a second welcome. And can you tell us more about your background? Where did you grow up? And
my background was originally from Revere, and I moved up when I got married into Linfield. And what happened there, I was teaching. I went after I went to school and I got my BS degree and my MED in education. I went back to Revere in secondary school and attempted to teach there, which I did for 3 years. And I didn't like the fact that there was a tier of people over me and politics and everything else in the school system. So I decided to have my own business. And because I had background in botany, I went into plants, and plantscaping at the time was like brand new. So I created a business. Eventually, I've been doing that for 53 years, and I've had about 29 people working. And we just service large corporations. And what we did, different from this book here in this business, is that we aesthetically made offices more pleasing, more pleasant to be in, and also help clean out air, because that's what plants do. They take out the toxins out of the air in those offices. And they were carcinogenic, and people liked that because there was NASA studies based on that.
So you've been very active in and around plants for many decades.
Yes.
This book, a very interesting book that looks very good, it's very well presented. Plant Power Nutrition, and we're going to show that that cover on air. Plant Power Nutrition is a really valuable asset. I enjoyed reading it, and I wonder if you could read for us the first paragraph in your intro.
Yeah.
An important note from Joe Gallo. I think that's just good information.
Before you dive in, I want to be perfectly clear about my role here. I am not a physician. I'm not a scientist or a licensed healthcare provider. I am a man who has spent his life working with plants and who, after a personal health scare, dedicated himself to learning everything he could about this power to nourish and heal. This book is a result of that passion. In it, I share my studies and life experiences. My goal has been to research the incredible academic and medical work being done by professionals all over the world, and to translate their scientific findings into plain, understandable language for the average person, you and me. My mission is simply to make these well-researched articles palatable for all of us.
Thank you. It's a good initial statement,
Yep.
and I think it's important to give the tone. This is a very, very well-written, fluid book, and I think that natural introduction, saying, I don't have all the answers, or I'm godlike or anything, saying just
Yep.
who you are and
Yep.
what you're going to do is very important. When did you start writing this, or get the idea to put this book together?
That's a very good question. I had no idea I was going to write a book like this. After 2 years ago, I had surprisingly a heart attack, and I thought I hiked and I do cross-country skiing, and I ate very well, but I didn't realize how I really wasn't eating as well as I thought. I was eating like most Americans. And what happened is I got this heart attack, and I had a very good cardiologist here, local. We're very fortunate. Right here in Addison Gilbert, and he's with Beth Israel now in Leahy Clinic, but Dr. Arsenian. And he directed me for ablation procedure, which is the electrical impulses that reduce them, and I felt much better. Then after that, I had this heart attack 2 years ago. I had a stent put in, and it was done very well, and that's what the AMA is all about. They fix things, they know their procedures, they know their medicine. But when it came to go back into recovery in that hospital, and not that particular, any hospital, I was confronted with hospital food. And I was confronted with medication, warfarin and Lipitor. I mention this because I was feeling great, but then after those two events, for those few days, the Lipitor and the warfarin, the blood thinner and the cholesterol chemical that breaks up any kind of blood clots that I would have, or a cholesterol blockages. What happened is that I was getting side effects, 9 side effects: depression, low libido, indigestion, constipation. I couldn't write. I couldn't really read. I had brain fog. These were onsets of Alzheimer's. Now, unbeknownst to me, these were all like side effects, and some of them were serious side effects. And it frightened me. And then when it came to the food, I did not eat that food because I wouldn't eat food. I eat organic, whole foods, and I'm not being an elitist. I would not eat those packaged, processed foods that are tainted.
Yeah.
And my doctor says to me, and I said to him, after I got out, I said, I'm feeling great because I stopped eating that food and I went right back to my food. But he says, these medications, I'm going to stop after a week. He says, stay on them for at least 2 weeks. We have people stay on them all the time. And I says, I understand that. I can't agree with that because I have a background in this, biochemistry and biology and nutrition. And I says, I think I really want to take a leap. And I took my life in my own hands. Yeah. And I said, I'll even sign a waiver, doctor. I says, we'll have a bet. And so that was 2 years ago. And I have been on it, and I've been in contact with him. And I have people testing me all the time, every 3 months with blood tests to know, any kind of factors that I might have, my LDLs, the triglycerides, any kind of, and I'm getting lower and lower and better with the foods and the supplements, and is what you see in the chapters there. The power of these plants.
I know that experience about eating non-processed, nutritious foods. Sometimes, and I live like that pretty much.
Good.
And then sometimes I'll break down, or some circumstance will occur when I have a cheeseburger at McDonald's.
Yeah, that's okay.
And I have a hangover.
Yeah.
I can feel I have a hangover from that.
Absolutely. From the salts and the sugars instilled in those fast foods. And it's just not in those type of restaurants, it's other restaurants. But not just that, it's in our everyday foods.
I think the message that you have in the book, Plant Power Nutrition, is really emphasized in the contents page. I love the titles
Yeah,
of the chapters. I'll just
Yeah,
read a few. I'll read them. They're
Yes.
short. The power of herbs and spices, the power
Absolutely.
of essential oils, the power of nuts and seeds, the power of teas, the power of grains, oats, rice, wheat, barley, the power of mushrooms, the power of fruits and vegetables, the power of botanical biochemicals. I want to make sure I pronounce that correctly.
Botanicals. Yeah, botanical kind
So
of.
I think that, and I enjoyed reading these. I've been involved in some of these because at our age,
And I hope you'll do more of it.
Well,
and you'll be
I
satisfied.
think people our age have a little experience in dealing with illness and wanting to deal with it as effectively as possible.
But what's really important at the end there, it empowers us, the American public, to take health in our own hands and not make food eating a convenience, fast food, grilling, but a serious physical, emotional, spiritual interaction with our food, because it has a direct effect on our biochemistry. And there are much more serious and complicated books out there. You'll see in my resources in the back, like Good Energy from Dr. Casey Means from Stanford. There's another book in there from Harvard University, Dr. Willett. And this most recent one, and he's extremely educational and verbal. He's a neurologist, endocrinologist for children, and he's sort of, all three of these have left their medical practices and gotten into teaching of proper nutrition, because their medical practices of using drug therapy and surgery wasn't as effective as this educational preventive approach. And things like, and I hate to say diet, but it's called Mediterranean diet. It's called really Mediterranean way of life. It's the appreciation of food and the varieties of food. And if you look at my this book, it has the colors of carotenoids of all different vegetables and fruits. It just doesn't look pretty. They're vitally important biochemically on a cellular basis, and I
think prevention
and the variety.
Prevention is the big word.
Prevention.
Because so much can be prevented if you just eat properly. And as you say, Americans, by and large, don't. And
the definition is, what is properly? And that's what this book helps define for us. It's a guidebook to that, into other books, more complex books. I have to make a confession, this book could have been over 300 pages. But I didn't want that, because it would have blown away the public. My books, and this other book too that I wrote before, 15 years ago, is made for the public. It's a guidebook. I am the public. I'm a victim of this system. And there are millions more ready to get a heart attack or Alzheimer's. They're on the verge, you say. And people, and I hate to say this, I was obese, and people who are on the obese. That obesity is not only a condition, okay, of faulty nutrition in this country. It's a segue into all these other diseases that we call NCD diseases. Not contagious diseases like measles, mumps, COVID-19, but these new diseases last 50 years. And can I make a quick list of them?
Please.
Improper nutrition, and I'm very passionate about this, not eating these right foods, and we have to look in this book and others, is that the improper one is eating processed foods, anything in the middle aisles of a grocery store, packaged, canned, that type of thing. But what it is basically is you have to know the difference between processed and unprocessed. And I just feel that, I guess I got off track, but I guess I feel that proper nutrition is just not plants. It's good meats, clean meats, chickens, fish, and any kind of beans or protein. It's a whole combination and diversity. And these diseases that are so common with us now, like Alzheimer's, heart attacks like I got, kidney stones,
Lifestyle diseases.
lifestyle diseases they call them, is all nutritionally related. Not eating the proper nutritional foods or eating the improper or processed foods.
Yeah.
They lead up to brain fog, diabetes too, insulin resistance, IBS. IBS is a digestive disease, irritable bowel syndrome, celiac disease. Okay, any of these diseases can be stopped and prevented, or sometimes ameliorated. Even Alzheimer's disease, if you have teas, if you drink certain teas like sage and rosemary, turmeric, it will help reduce those symptoms at least, and maybe ameliorate that in a medicinal way.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying to stop drugs or anything else like that, but look into this because it can help in many ways.
Yeah, yeah. So I read the chapters, and which of these would you think, now this is an unfair question, is more important? Because they're all important. But I wonder if you can zero in to one or two of these chapters
The zero
that,
in
that
is,
you can discuss,
Yeah.
like you just mentioned teas
Yeah.
or some other
Yeah.
topic.
and this is a new, by the way, this is a new food chart. I got permission to use this. I thought this was it was created by Dr. Willett in Harvard. It wasn't. It was created by these people, which I could spend another time on old ways. It's an office in Boston, and they do cultural tours, food cultural tours. And you can see in this pyramid, it's not just grains and meats or milk. There's no milk in here. And meats are a condiment. Red meat's a small amount. So you start with the interaction of people exercising, could be dancing, exercising in gym, or walking. But the main food group down here is a combination of organic vegetables and fruits, anything with color, peppers with color, any kind of vegetables with color, because they have anthocyanins and they're helpful in anti-inflammation. Then you have your fresh, excuse me, your fresh fish. And these fish are not farm grown. They're wild caught. Okay, and there's another whole chapter on that. Then you have your healthy, free-ranged, beef or cattle, and chickens, turkeys, pheasant, and whatever. But and your cheeses. But
So the cheeses are the only dairy product on the,
yes,
on the pyramid.
but the cheeses that I that I think you and I could eat, or other people that have maybe a gluten issue, would be brie. You could eat pecorino. You could eat Parmesan, and shredded. You could eat feta cheese. So here we have Italian, Greek, we have French, German, Gouda cheese. You don't have to eat Helvetic cheese. You don't have to eat cheeses that have gluten, so you can still have cheese. And if you look at this pyramid, it's a diversity of foods. There's a diversity of foods. It's not a keto diet. It's not don't eat carbs, don't eat it's diets just don't work. It's a philosophy of life. Okay, the Mediterranean diet.
I think that's a valuable point. That these stricter diets are more designed to sell,
absolutely,
and to attract people and make a buck, rather than really
sell and confuse.
Really helping out.
This is a simple book. This is a simple chart, and it works. How do I know it works? You look at the statistics. Who has the lowest rate of heart disease, cardiovascular disease, any kind of digestive disease, any kind of neurological diseases, particularly brain fog and Alzheimer's disease. It's the Mediterranean diet, people, who live the longest, but not just the longest, the healthiest longest, okay? They drink wine, but they don't obsess it. It's a food. And the resveratrol in there, as well as found in grapes and berries, is vital in giving us a non-inflammatory environment in our body. So to support our immune system, not using drugs to suppress our immune system, to use more drugs. That's what this is about.
Yeah. One chapter,
Yes.
well, I was interested in all these chapters, but one chapter that interested me a lot was on grains, because
Yes.
we all eat lots of breads.
Yes.
But from what I read, a lot of the white bread on the market has almost no nutritional value.
It has
So
none.
we
Yeah.
shop at bakeries
Yes.
that make their own bread here in Gloucester. Can you talk
Yeah.
about grains a
Yes.
little bit?
You have to. Grain, unfortunately, in this country, it's made up of three parts. There's the gem, there's the there's the germ, and there's the endogerm. That's the white part that we eat. That's the tasty part and everything else. But you need the germ and you need the brand. Okay, you need fiber. You take the fiber out of any of these grains, you just got fattening food, okay, and hypoglycemia. You've got to have a full grain. But the important grain is oats. And I got to say, I just came from a really good, successful, in Rockport. It was the December 6th Christmas author. And one young lady was a dietitian. And I made these healthy energy balls that were made of peanut butter, not Skippy peanut butter, really good organic peanut butter, and barberries, which are highly protein, and it was just tiny, no cooking, and flax seeds and hemp seeds and all these different things, all plant-based. And it was also these oats and little chocolates, but tiny little chocolates, all organic, dark chocolate with 70%, no sugar. No sugar in here. And this was absolutely just, it was like 50 balls, there was less than 5 or 10 left. People ate them. I should have sold those instead of books. But it was just to show that there was no cooking. It's simple. And nutrition should not only be, nutritious, it should be delicious. It should be fun. And what happened was, she was a dietitian. And she said, well, you really should be careful about putting oats, because this is your question. And I said, well, I put oats because they're low in gluten, and they're, you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
He says, well, yeah, it could be. There isn't any, I said. And I looked it up again in ChatGPT, and I looked it up in my books, and there is no gluten in it. So you've got to be careful. You're right, there's a lot of misinformation out there.
Oh, yes.
And you've got to know this. And in fact, it is a healthy, and what gluten does, they try to mention, they scare you and fear you so you can take drugs instead, or use their food, the fast foods, and make it simple, is that they scare you to the fact that, why don't they tell us, the TV and medical doctors, they can't, but more nutritionists tell us, oats clear us from cholesterol. They actually pull cholesterol from our endothelium inside of our arteries. And they also take that calcium and put it into our bones, and not the opposite, what fast foods do.
I think a lot of the product lines make an emphasize that that your ingredients are posted on the can or on the bag.
Yes.
Often in incredibly difficult language,
right,
in small print.
Yeah,
but
it is.
It's almost a joke sometimes. Like, you see all the nutrition facts on the back of a bag of candy corn, and I think there aren't nutrition facts there that I want to learn. Yeah. I like candy corn once in a great while.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
you can't go by the by the stated
Yeah.
the statements from the product
pretty soon-
manufacturer.
And pretty soon, without the CDC giving us any help or control, you know, in medical organizations, because our systems are not going to be policed anymore, you know,
Yeah,
unfortunately, and to protect us. So
Yeah.
they're not even going to be there.
I want to ask, we're almost running
Yes.
out of time. I want to ask very briefly for our audience that might be thinking about a book. They say, well, that's a great nutrition book, I'll get it, but I'm interested in boat modeling or something like that. How do you start talking about a book? How do you get it published?
How do you get it published? I do, every time I've done a book, I felt there had to be a need. And as far as the writers out there, because we got to address the writers. I don't consider my writer like you're a poet and a person who writes, you know, novels. I'm really impressed with those people. I write out of need, and I have to write with a passion. Okay, I was trained as a scientist.
Do you write every day? If you're working
I
on a
try
book?
to write every day. I try to contribute as a citizen to editorials, for instance, in the Gloucester Daily Times. I might talk about how windmills don't kill, because I'm an ecologist and a biologist, don't kill whales. I'm in there. I wrote an article on the new tobacco is sugar. It's dangerous to our kids. I'll write articles about better nutrition in our schools.
So that's a good line. I've heard that from a couple of people, guests. They say if you want to do something about writing, sit down and write.
Sit down and write.
About your
I
interest.
had a really good writer say to me, just one thing, there's always at least one good book in every person. So just remember that. Sometimes I had to get it out. I have to.
One good book in every person.
Absolutely.
That's a good line.
Yeah.
I want to thank you, Joseph Gallo,
Thank
for
you
sharing your knowledge and telling us about this very interesting book. I enjoyed it, Plant Power Nutrition. And I'm going to be following, even more than we do sometimes at home, I'm going to be following some of your guidebook ideas. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. And thank you for having me on.
I also want to thank everyone in our television audience. If you've learned something about good nutrition and the prevention of future disease and disease problems from Joseph Gallo, then the Writer's Block has done its job. Thanks for being with us, and I hope to see you again next time on the Writer's Block. Good night.